Hello, welcome to video 2 of session 6. I need you to please find the odds title in your notes. It should be around page 4. Now, I don't know if you remember, but in session 1 I was talking about how people mix up odds and probability all the time, and they think that it's the same thing, and it's not. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some problems that deal with odds, and then we're going to compare those with probabilities, okay? Now, when I look at the word odds, there's two words that you need to know about: favorable outcomes and unfavorable outcomes. And I'd like you to highlight those, please. Now, a favorable outcome is something that you want. So like if you're playing a game and you've got a spinner and you really need a 3, that's what you want. That would be your favorable outcome. An unfavorable outcome is what you don't want. Okay? Now, odds can be written in two ways. They can be written as a fraction, and it's your wants over what you don't want. Okay? Or it can also be written like this, like a ratio. Your wants and then a colon to your don't wants. Now, one thing that you've got to keep in mind here is when you have odds, your numerator, which is this top number, plus your denominator, which is this bottom number, will always equal your outcomes. Okay? All right. Now, we've got some directions here which actually should be on the next page, so I'm just going to cross those out. And here's what I would like you to add to the notes here that got cut off. Okay, you are playing Chutes and Ladders, and you have a spinner that has 8 equal sections. So let's draw a spinner, and pause the video if you need to, so you can write down all the directions. Okay, now here's our spinner. And we're going to figure out some odds. Okay, so it's your turn. You're playing Chutes and Ladders, and you really want a 2. That is what you need to win the game. Okay, so your odds of a 2. So you want a 2. Now, how many 2s are on here? Well, there's 1. It's right here. So you want this one, but you don't want all of these. So let's count how many you don't want. You don't want this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. So there's 7 of them that you don't want. And there's your odds. Now notice, if we add our numerator and our denominator, 1 plus 7 equals 8, doesn't it? And we have 8 outcomes. Okay, now let's pretend it's your turn again. And now this time you need a 3 or a 4. That's what you want. So you want a 3 or a 4. So there's 2 numbers you want. Okay, now how many numbers don't you want? Well, you don't want this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them that you don't want. Now notice, what's 2 plus 6? 2 plus 6 is 8. And we had 8 outcomes. Now please make sure you always reduce your fractions. Now you might say, well, wait a second here, Kirsten. Now 1 plus 3 doesn't equal 4. I realize that. But your original one, 2 plus 6 equals 8, so we're okay. Okay, now I want you to switch gears. Now I want you to think probability. Okay, now be careful. What would the probability be of getting a 2? Well, you've got 1, 2, right? 1 out of how many? Because when you're dealing with probability, you have to look at all of your outcomes. Well, we had 8 of them. Okay? So look at this. Very different. The odds of getting a 2 are 1 to 7. The probability of getting a 2 is 1 to 8. Okay, now let's do the probability of getting a 3 or a 4. Okay, a 3 or a 4, that means 2 of them out of all, 2 out of 8, is 1 to 4. And again, look at this. Very different. So please be careful. Do not mix up odds and probability. It's very easy to do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some odds and we're going to change them to probabilities, and then we're going to take some probabilities and we're going to change them into odds. So I need you to look at page 755, please. I don't think the author does a very good job of explaining how to do these problems. Once you see how we do these, I think you're going to think they're really, really easy. Okay, let's look at number 68. Number 68. Okay, number 68 says the odds in favor of an event occurring are given. Okay, so these are some odds. So let's label what we're given here. We're given some odds. Compute the probability of the event occurring. Okay, first thing you need to do, you need to set up a fraction, okay? And you take your given values and you put those in your denominator and you add them, okay? And then whatever your first number is, you put on top. Easy, right? Super easy. And there we go. We're done. Okay. Let's try the next one. Number 70. Okay, we set up a fraction. Okay, we add the two numbers that they gave us. We put that in our denominator. Take the first number and we put it on top. 3 out of 8. Easy, easy, easy. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to switch gears. Now we're going to look at probabilities. Problem number 74 says the probability of an event is given. Find the odds in favor of the event occurring. Okay, if you look at 74, it says 0.6. Now, 0.6, first thing you have to do is you have to change your decimal into a fraction. Well, 0.6 means 6 out of 10, and then you need to reduce, okay? So you take your decimal, you change it to a fraction, and then you reduce. Okay, next thing you do, I want you to write down numerator plus something equals your denominator. Okay, now let's look at this fraction. Our numerator is 3. Our denominator is 5. Okay? All right. Now, 3 plus what gives you 5? We're going to fill in the blank. Well, it's 2, right? Okay. Now, all you do, this is super duper easy. Those first two values are your odds. So we have 3 to 2, or write this as 3 over 2. Okay, let's try another one. Let's look at number 76. They said the probability of something occurring was 0.28. Well, that's 28 out of 100, and then I reduced. Okay, so we've got our numerator plus our denominator. So let's see here. Our numerator is 7. So 7 plus what gives us our denominator? Okay, well 7 plus 18 gives you 25. And so here are your odds. 7 to 18, or you can rewrite it as 7 over 18. Okay? All right. I think you're going to find those easy to do. Now let's look at chapter 12, and I really would like you to read chapter 12.1 before you start this section. So if you haven't read it, please turn off the video and open up your book and read the section, okay? All right. So chapter 12 talks about statistics, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to discuss some words here. The words, we've got mode, median, we've got range, and we've got mid-range, okay? And in statistics, whenever you're given data, first thing you need to do, you need to change the order, always, okay? And you want to rewrite your data or your numbers that you're given from smallest to largest. So that's what I did here. I just rewrote them, okay? Now the first thing we're going to do is I want to find the mode. Now the mode is the number that occurs the most. So we look at our list. What number is showing up the most? Well, 2, right? There we go. And that's a mode. It's easy. Okay, the next word we're going to look at is median. Now the median is your middle number. So let's look at our list here. Okay, our middle number, here we go. Here's our middle number is a 5. Okay, now before we discuss these other words, I want to show you something. Let's pretend that you've got let's pretend you've got 4 data, okay? And I want to know the median. Well, here we've got 2 middle numbers. And if you've got 2 middle numbers, what you have to do, folks, is you have to add those up and divide by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, okay? So be careful. Sometimes you're going to have 2 middle numbers. Okay, the range is found by taking your big number and subtracting your little number. Well, our big number was 8. Our little number is 1. 8 minus 1 is 7. Pretty easy, right? Last but not least, your mid-range is when you take your little number and your big number. Okay, so our little number is 1, and our big number is 8. And you divide by 2. Okay, there we go. So we have 9 over 2. Now, if you prefer a decimal, 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. All right, and last but not least, the mean, which is the average, and the variable that we use in statistics is right here. This is called X bar. It's the letter X with a bar on top, and that just denotes average. Now, the average is found by taking all of your data and adding it up and dividing by how many data you have. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I want you to add that up, divide by 7, and I got about 4.43. Okay, so that's our mean. Okay. Now we're going to talk about weighted averages or weighted means, and that's used to calculate grade point averages. And it occurs when a weight or a value corresponding to how much the score is counted. Okay. Now we've got a formula in our book, and we're going to add to our notes here. I want you to put a little subscript right here, X sub n. Okay, now we've seen this symbol before. Do you remember what that means? That symbol means to add. So I know we're going to add up something. Okay, now this will tell you what you're going to add. Well, W is your weight. And we're going to take our weight and we're going to multiply it by X sub n, and that's our data. Now, X sub 1 would just mean your first number, X sub 2 would mean your third number, X sub 3 would mean your third number, X sub 4 is your fourth number, okay? Okay, all over. Okay, now we're adding. And what are we adding? We are adding our weights. Okay. I think you'll find that this formula isn't as scary as it seems. So what we're going to do, we're going to find a grade point average here. And it says each test grade, I'm sorry, this isn't a GPA problem. I was thinking it was something else. Each test grade is counted as 15%, and a final exam counts as 40% in Professor Doe's class. Bonnie's test grades were 70, 80, 75, and 85. Her final exam was 90. Find the weighted mean. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, let's look at our tests. So let's just highlight the tests. So she had 4 of them. Okay? And these tests were 15% of her grade. So what we're going to do, here's our weight. And right here it says you take your weight and you multiply it by your data. Okay, so we're going to multiply by our first data, so that would be 70. And then we're going to multiply by our second data, which is 80. Our third data is 75. And our fourth data is 85. Okay, that's pretty easy, right? Just your weight times your data. Weight times your data. Weight times your data. Weight times your data. Okay, now the exam is 40% of our grade, and I'm going to do that in a different color here. Okay, so here's our weight, and our data is 90%. Okay, now let's look at our denominator here. This says add up your weights. Add your weights. Okay, so let's see here. We had all these different weights. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we had 4.15s and 0.4. Okay, now what I want you to do in your calculator, you have to use parentheses or it's not going to work. You're going to go parentheses, 0.15 times 70, close your parentheses, then do plus, then do parentheses, 0.15 times 80, close your parentheses, then plus, etc. Now, do that, turn off the video for a second, and see what you get. Then add all your weights up. Okay, I got 82.5 all over 1, and anything 0.5 or above, I know with grades, I bounce up, so I would say this person had an 83 in their class. Okay? Okay, let's do another one of these in the book. It's page 804, number 18. 804, number 18. Now, by the way, all these problems that have weighted means, some of them just have, little twists here and there, okay? They're all not cookie cutter problems. Okay, hopefully you've got your book with you. It says a professor grades students on 3 tests, 3 quizzes, and 1 exam. Okay, 3 tests, 3 quizzes, 1 exam. Each quiz counts as 1/2 a test grade, and the final counts as 3 test grades. Okay, every grade now is being compared to a test. Dan has test scores of 80, 65, and 86. Okay, so I made a little chart here. So 3 tests, here they are. Dan's quiz scores were 86, 80, and 60, and his final exam was 84. Use the weighted mean formula to find Dan's average for the course. Okay, well, this one's tricky because they didn't tell you the weights, and we have to figure it out. Now, each test, quiz, and exam was compared to a test score. So let's look at this. So we're going to say that a test score is 1, okay? Now, going back here, it says each quiz counts as 1/2 a test score. Well, if we gave a test score a weight of 1, what would 1/2 of a test score be? Well, 1/2. Okay, now let's read here. Then it says, let's see here. And the final exam, okay, the final exam counts as 3 tests. Well, remember, a test counts as 1 point. So 3 tests would be 3 points. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our weights, multiply them by our test grades, just like we did up here. And then we're going to add up all of our weights, and we're going to put that in the denominator, okay? All right, so we've got 1 times 80. We've got 1 times 65. And we've got 1 times 86. Okay? All right, now we're going to do half of 86, half of 80, and half of 60. So here we go. So half times 86, half times 80, half times 60. Uh-oh, I'm running out of room. And then plus 3 times 84. All right, now that's all over. Okay, now we have to do all of our weights. So we had 1, 1, and 1. 1, 1, and 1. Okay, then we had a half 3 times, so half, 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 and then a 3 showed up once. Now I'll tell you what, when you're doing these problems on a test or a quiz, put them in your calculator 3 times at least, because if you make one little mistake, you're hosed. So don't just plug and chug once, okay? Please, 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 do this 3 times. Okay, now I've already done this, but this is what I got, and I'd like you to pause the video and see if you get the same thing. Okay, I got about 79.47% would be this person's grade, okay? Okay, so these take a little while. They're not hard, but they take a while to set things up. Okay, we're going to do one more of these, and then we're going to stop for this video. We're going to look at page 804. We're going to do number 22. Okay, now this one says many colleges use the 4-point system. An A is worth 4 points, a B is worth 3 points, a C is worth 2 points, a D is 1, and an F is 0. Compute the grade point average for each student. Hint, the units represent the weights of the letter grades that the student received in a course. Now, I like to do charts sometimes for problems, so I made a chart for this problem. If you hate charts, then don't use a chart. Do something else, okay? I'm just trying to show you one way of being successful on this problem. Okay, now first of all, the author said that an A was worth 4 points, a B was worth 3 points, a C was 2, an F was 0, and then this person for their CAD class got a 3. So looking at the chart that they gave you, I'm just writing down the values here of the weights, okay? Okay, now I wrote down all my classes here, and then the weights here were given, okay? They were course units. So we have 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. Those are kind of like the credits for a class, okay? The more credits a class is worth, the more it affects your grade point average. Like this one is going to affect grade point averages more than this one, okay? Okay, so here we go. What we're going to do, we're going to multiply these together, okay? All right, so we've got 4 times 4, we've got 3 times 3, we've got 3 times 2, 2 times 0, 2 times 3, all over. Okay, now you got to add up your weights. So we had 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. And if I did my math correct, hopefully you'll get this value also. Check my work though, please. So this person has about a 2.6 GPA, okay? Okay, we're going to stop for now. The next video we're going to start talking about standard deviation. I would ask you to please read the book before you watch the video, and hopefully between reading your book and then seeing my notes, everything will make sense. Okay, bye-bye.